Hello everyone, Rurkan here coming at you with another video. Welcome back to Final Fantasy XIV, and today we're going to be talking about, you guessed it, the Bozjan Southern Front, because I bet that out of every single Final Fantasy XIV creator that you follow, I'm the only one that is talking about the Bozjan Southern Front right now, right? No? Literally everyone else is doing it? Well, yes, but see, with me, you're going to get the fresh perspective of someone who is engaging with these systems for the very first time. But in all seriousness, before you guys actually jump into the Bozjan Southern Front, I'd like to just do a quick little PSA here, which is that you guys should talk to Zlatan before you leave, because I've noticed that a lot of people have been neglecting to pick up their relic weapon quest. I myself almost made that mistake, but when I was live streaming, my stream called out to me, "Hey, you didn't pick up the relic weapon quest?" And I was like, "What?" Because, you know, you're in Gangos, you look around, you see all of the quests that you gotta do, you know, all of the plus marker quests and all that jazz. You get a couple of cinematics, you get all of those out of the way, and then finally the only thing left in your screen is the plus sign for Zlatan with the repeatable symbol, which, you know, is the place that you usually go to whenever you want to get a new relic weapon for a new job that you got to level 80. And it's like, okay, I guess I'm good. It's time to jump into Bozjan Southern Front. No. You should go back and talk to Zlatan with the relic that you want to grind. You got to have the job for the relic that you want to grind, and you got to own that relic naturally. And you talk with him, and he should give you a new quest, which is called For Want of a Memory. Because if you do not have this quest before you jump into the Bozjan Southern Front, then you are not actually grinding your relic weapon. You might just jump in there, be like, you know, doing skirmishes and stuff, raising your resistant rank and all of that jazz, and you're like, yeah, I'm also getting this stuff from my relic. No, you're not. Unless you have that quest, For Want of a Memory. So make sure that you pick that up before you jump into Bozjan Southern Front. Again, I've seen a lot of people that have made this mistake because it's easy to miss, right? Because that quest symbol is always there when you go to Gangos. You know, this is the guy I got to talk to get my new relic weapon. So, you know, I don't want to get a new relic weapon. I just want to grind my current one to its next tier. And you kind of just like forget that, oh, you got to go talk to him to get the quest to get started on the next tier. But anyway, once you get that out of the way and you jump into Bozja, let me tell you guys my thoughts on it. Because again, this is the first time that I'm engaging in a system like this. Like, sure, I've played a little bit of Eureka, like very, very little, like maybe 30 minutes, something like that. I didn't even make it out of the first zone. I just went in there and I played around a little bit to get an idea of what Eureka was like. And I actually kind of enjoyed the little time that I spent on Eureka. I know that it gets much worse in later levels, but it kind of like prepared me for what this particular zone was going to be. And I gotta say, personally, I really enjoy the new zone. I enjoy the Bozjan Southern Front quite a bit. It's basically just like this big open area. You go in there, skirmishes are happening all the time, which is a fancy way of saying fates, except in Bozja. So fates in Bozja, they're called skirmishes. Even the icons are pretty much the same icons as a fate. So you just like jump in there, you complete these skirmishes, and then eventually, depending on the skirmishes that you're completing, you might trigger critical engagements that you might be able to join in. Pretty much what I've already mentioned in my previous videos. The one thing that I wasn't sure was how much fun it was going to be. And it is actually tremendously fun because, you know, the fates themselves is whatever you go in there, you AoE a bunch of mobs down. There might be a couple of them that have different mechanics. There are a couple of them that are about turning in stuff. But ultimately, they're fates, you know, there's not that much to know about them. You go around with a big group of people, you zerg them down. By the way, when you get to Bozja, one of the things that you want to do is you want to get yourself in a party as fast as possible. So even if you're just starting out, as soon as you get there, just say, hey, looking for group rank 1, whatever, just say the resistance rank that you are in whenever you scream for looking for group. And, you know, there's always people forming up groups and trying to get big parties going, because moving around as a group is a lot safer than moving around solo by yourself. Because even though in you know, in the actual zones of Final Fantasy XIV, whether it's Realm Reborn, Stormblood, Shadowbringers, Heavensward, whatever, it doesn't really matter. In most of those zones, you're pretty much safe most of the time, unless you decide to take on a couple more mobs than you should have. In Bozjan Southern Front, you know, mobs are a little bit tougher. It's kind of like to exemplify what MMOs used to be back in the day, I guess, because a lot of people have said, you know, Eureka and Bozja, these are zones, these are things that people have said to me. Eureka and Bozja, these are zones that are intended to simulate the aspects of Final Fantasy XI. Now, I never played Final Fantasy XI, but I did play Lineage 2, which people tell me, you know, it's kind of like the same idea. Instead of you actually doing quests, you're basically going out and you're grinding mobs to progress. You're grinding mobs to level up. And that's kind of like what you do in the Bozjan Southern Front. You go in there, you get yourself a bunch of skirmishes. There are a couple of story quests here and there to keep you going that tell you a little bit more about the war effort that is happening throughout Bozja. And those quests are all fine and well. I enjoyed those quests. But ultimately, I do enjoy the whole thing about just grinding mobs as opposed to just following a storyline. I'm not saying that following storyline is bad, none of that. I love the story of Final Fantasy XIV. What I'm saying is that it's nice that you have that kind of variety, and it's nice that you can actually level up characters in there. Now, personally, most of the jobs that I care for right now are actually level 80. Speaking of which, I'm going through a crisis right now because I thought that I was really dead set on Gunbreaker being my main, but wouldn't you know it, patch day comes and I'm like, I'm gonna work on my Paladin relic weapon. Why? I don't know, because I'm crazy, because there's something wrong with me, but I'm playing a Paladin right now, so it is what it is. But yeah, just running around, grinding mobs, doing the critical engagements. The critical engagements in particular I really like because they're essentially kind of like mini raids, more like world bosses, and it's really cool. There's a lot of people. One of the things that I will say though is that if you're playing on a PS4, you're gonna have a bad time. Like, because I've been playing on my PC yesterday when I was live streaming on Twitch, and then I went home, and usually what I do at home is I play on my PS4 because I only have a laptop at home. It's not too powerful. So I was playing on my PS4, and every time I went into a critical engagement in Bozja, Jesus Christ, I was playing in slow motion, dude. Like, the PS4 just cannot handle 48 players on screen, all casting crazy stuff. And I have limited spell effects. Even with limited spell effects, the PS4 just can't handle it. Like, I actually had a hard time doing mechanics because the frames were so friggin' slow. So, yeah, I hope that, you know, maybe they can, I don't know if they can improve the performance a little bit, because at the end of the day, there's just so many players in any of those critical engagements. You know, depending on the critical engagements, some of them are 24, some of them are 48, but, you know, when you get to those 48 ones, it gets really rough. Now, there's a lot of like subsystems in Bozja, because when you're going there, you're getting these Bozja clusters that you can then exchange for rewards and stuff. There's a mount that I'm actually I'm saving for. The mount costs like 180 something Bozja clusters. I'm trying to save for that particular mount. And then you're also picking up chests as you complete these critical engagements. So from those chests, you can also get another mount, which I'm probably never going to get because I'm incredibly unlucky whenever it comes to systems where you get random things. I did get a Ravana minion, so you know there's that, but you can get a bunch of stuff out of it. I also got like a Nidhogg samurai weapon for some strange reason. I was like, okay, I guess. But you know, there's some random rewards that you can get from those chests. And then there's also the lost action system. Now, this was something that they talked about in the streams, but I had no idea how that was going to be like because, again, I never really played Eureka, and I never went to, what is the zone that they talk about, Pagos, where you have those actions. But the way the lost action system works is that whenever you are doing stuff in Bozja, whether that is skirmishes, critical event, engagements, or even just killing random mobs, you can get these fragments. There's particularly these star mobs that are like super hard that give you even more of these fragments. But you know, you really want to make sure that you get a big group for those because those guys hit pretty hard. Even as a tank, like you just go in there and they'll two-shot you straight up. So you need people to really keep you up, and you need to actually use some of these lost actions that we're talking about to maybe stay alive. But basically, what are these? As you are doing engaging in any of the systems in Bozja, you'll essentially start collecting these fragments, which you can then identify back at base. And when you identify, they give you these lost actions. Now, the lost actions, you're able to equip them as your duty actions. And basically, with that particular system, you can then buff yourself using these actions. Now, depending on the actions that you equip, some of them have limited amount of uses. Others have infinite uses. So like one combo that I've seen a lot of players use is Shell and Protect, which is basically something that reduces your physical damage by 10% and your magical damage by 10%. A lot of players are using those. But there are some that are a little bit more interesting. Like there's one that's called Lost Death, I think. So you can basically one-hit KO a monster. But you got to be lucky because the chances of that happening are really low. Then there's another potion that you can have that also come from these lost actions. They're consumables essentially. That you take that potion that increases the chances of this death spell working. And if the monster's health is a little bit lower, there's also a chance of an increased chance of the death spell working. So it's interesting. There's other spells that like increase your damage but sacrifice your health, or increase your damage and sacrifice also make it so that you take additional damage, because that, like, there was one which is the essence of the irregular or whatever, and I was looking, I was like, okay, so this one is for the DPSs, right? Increases your damage by 90%. I'm like, that's pretty good. Increases your damage received by 200%, and I was like, Jesus Christ, that's insane. You better not get hit by literally anything or you're gone. You're just there's a little bit of roadkill next to the monster that you were fighting. But yeah, these lost actions are cool. Some of these actions do have, like I said, limited uses. So once you equip them, you'll be able to use them like 10 times. For instance, that's how the lost death thing worked. You get to use it 10 times, and after that, you need to equip a different action if you want to keep doing that. But yeah, you purify these, and then you identify them, and then you can equip them, and you can use them as you see fit. And I gotta be honest, in the 10 hours that I grinded through yesterday, I didn't use any of these because I had no idea how they worked. So I was just like, I don't know what these do, so I'm going to save them from when they matter, because, you know, you still have the mentality of saving it for when it matters. This is something that I think is really bad that I kind of brought over with me from World of Warcraft, because I used to think the same way when I initially started tanking. Like, this was a long time ago. Final Fantasy XIV, I'm like, I'm going to save all my cooldowns for the boss. You idiot. No, you don't save your cooldowns for the boss. Except like maybe one. So it's like, use stuff, use these actions. Don't be me. Don't spend 10 hours grinding without using these actions that can make your time in Bozja a lot easier. So use the actions. There's even actions that allow you to heal people. So even if you're a class that does not have a heal, there's an action there that a lot of classes can equip that allow you to heal other players and heal yourself. And it's one of those actions that actually doesn't end unless you need to replace it from the duty action that you equip. And it's pretty cool. There's a lot of experimentation that I still have to do on there. I'm currently resistance rank 12, I think. So I did a whole lot of grinding of resistance rank. I already opened up the entirety of the area, because when you begin, you're kind of limited to the very starting zone of Bozja. And after you get to resistance rank 5, you get to go to the second one, and then after resistance rank 8 or 9, you get to go to the third one, and by then you have access to the entirety of the zone. And eventually when you get to 10, you unlock the Castrum, which is like a raid instance that you can do, which I haven't really done yet. I've been there once, but my group decided that we weren't going to do it because there wasn't enough people there. There was like, I don't know, 8 of us, I think. I just saw, oh, Castrum Littori is now open. I was like, oh, hell yeah, I want to check that out. So I went in there, and they were like, oh, no, we can't do it. There's not enough people. So everybody left. But yeah, I want to keep chipping away at it and going through and doing Castrum Littori and check all that stuff out. Because particularly I also want to get the armor. I told you guys I wanted to get that armor because it looks like it's seen some wear and tear. It's the kind of armor that I like, but I've heard that that one's going to be particularly grindy, so we'll see. We'll see how it all pans out. So it is a grindy zone. It's not for everyone. I know that there's a friend of mine that I usually talk with, and that friend of mine, he was also excited to jump into Bozja, and then he went in there, and then he started grinding a little bit. And then he was like, man, because I called him up when I was done doing my 10-hour grind session or whatever. I called him up and I was like, oh, dude, how are you enjoying Bozja? Because I was super excited. And the guy's like, I don't know, man, feels a little bit grinding. And I'm like, what resistance rank are you? It's like, I'm 4. I was like, oh, you think it's grindy now? Until you get to resistance rank 5. And then when you start dying, you start losing metal. So I think that the grindiness of it is something that's going to turn a lot of people off, particularly because a lot of people, they jump into Final Fantasy XIV because of the story, right? So they're super excited about the story, and then they see something like this, and it's more about grinding, more about like old school MMO systems and whatnot. And I can see that it's easy for some people to be a little bit demotivated by that, but personally I think it's a little bit refreshing, you know? You get the usual content, we're gonna get more of that MSQ and stuff with 5.4, and in between that we get this crazy ass grinding content that we can do in Bozja. But yeah, I want to dive in deeper a little bit more, and my class indecision continues. So I went from being Gunbreaker main to being a Paladin main again, which is bad because, you know, muscle memory and all that. particularly when you're playing with a controller. But yeah, so far, really enjoying it. I'm going to jump right in after actually editing this video and go back to grinding more memory things to do my relic. I'm only missing like 10 memory things, I think. But the memory stuff is actually slower in Bozja. So if your main objective is to do relic weapons, I've heard that you're better off doing it outside because it's like a 100% chance or whatever if you're doing fates in the correct areas. I don't know exactly where these fates are because ultimately my thing is I'm going to grind it out in Bozja because I want to get the resistance rank and I want to go do the Castrum thing. And, you know, I want to get the rewards from Bozja. I don't want to go back to, like, do fates in Heavensward. Like, I get that some people just want to get their relic weapons faster, sure. But me, I'm like, dude, no, I'm Bozja all the way and let's just do it there. But anyway, what are you guys' thoughts on Bozja? Let me know in the comment section down below. Are you enjoying it? Are you hating it? Really let me know. I'm very curious because, again, it's an interesting thing to look at because of how story focused this game is, to then you give people this grindy area, and I'm very curious to see where the community lies on their opinions on it. But yeah, let me know. I'm going to continue grinding. Thank you all very much for watching. If you enjoyed the content, subscribe, bell notification icon, all that jazz. And if you enjoyed this particular video, hit the like button. If you did not enjoy it, if you hate my guts, hit the dislike button. Feedback is important. Appreciate you all. Thank you for watching. Peace out.